Flew down to Curacao, met twice with the Minister of Finance of Curacao, and of course, yes, no question. No, they're going to settle it. Notwithstanding that, that was not enough for me. So I employed the representatives of the Cabinet of the Netherlands to also get on board and exert whatever pressure they know how to generate to make certain that this commitment comes through. Now, that is as far and as much as I can do. Monday, we have scheduled a video conference between the director of BZK, Minister of Finance of St. Martin, and the Minister of Finance of Curacao, with all that I've told you before in mind to make certain that this money will be on its way to St. Martin. So, Director Richards, I've done what I could to the maximum. I do not have no concern. Of course, you never know. And with my half glass empty theory, I'm on my guard every second and every minute to make sure that that comes through so that there are no issues surrounding it. The issue in terms of transfer of the property, as was raised by the managing director, well, we're actually waiting on APS and Cadastre to finalize, and Domain Behir, to finalize the made brief. And we stand ready. If it was ready today, we stand ready tomorrow. Because we have no issues in the contracts. We've worked those all out. The only thing we're waiting for is a made brief. And you just mentioned and whispered in my ear, the made brief is coming in 2 weeks' time. And at that time, we'll be in a position to pass the deed, to put it in the name of APS. So you can jump up and say hurrah with that too. It doesn't end there, because there are a lot of other plans and investments that is coming online and coming online short. From what I hear is in the pipeline, I have no concern at all in terms of how development is going to be in place in the near future, in not only with APS, but also, and the projects that you mentioned, but also other projects outside of government that I know APS is involved also, and promoting. It's all good, because I know then my pension is secure, and everybody else would be. I think before we made this arrangement, you had a coverage of 97%. In other words, they didn't have enough money to secure your pension. If they had to pay your pension, they would come 3% short. And when you talk about 3% and millions, it's a lot of money. With the arrangement we've made, that coverage increased to 102%. So now we have more in the fund guaranteeing your pension than was there before. And it doesn't end there. With the other investments we have, the expectation is that the coverage will go up to something amount 107%. And that's significant. And you know why it's significant? Because those who criticize us all the time about corruption, about we not doing the right things, about we being a pirate's nest, when I read and hear how the Commissioner of Police in the Netherlands have now been hauled before an investigatory body because of fraud. And I hear that their insurance agencies, all of them, cannot provide 100% coverage to their pensioners. And then I see the position that APS is in here today. Somebody should be extending compliments to us, congratulations to us, that we're on this track and they can't. In fact, the Central Bank of Holland, I think, have considered to give them 18, 20 years just to try to break even. Anyway, we're there now, and we should be proud of that, and don't let anyone talk us down. My mother always says, you know, before you talk about the splinter in somebody else's eye, look at a 2x4 in yours. Well, I don't want to hog the whole afternoon, so let me end by saying that I applaud all the efforts that APS is taking. You're an important partner. My support and the government's support is there for you. Wherever we can be helpful, we will be helpful, and thank you very much.
Told me that the Prime Minister today would be speaking last, and therefore he has an opportunity to listen to everybody and then either pick bits and pieces and wrap it up or cover what they have left out. I said it sounded like a brilliant idea. But after listening to all the speakers before me, the only thing really I should be able to say is, job well done. Let's get over to the next phase of the ceremonies, because they have covered it all. And the Minister of Finance even covered a little more. So we will hear about that probably across the Atlantic tomorrow. But when I looked around at what was not yet covered, I think one of the things that was not covered, and it may come as a surprise when I say it, is that today has to be a very, very gratifying day for none other than Franklyn Richards. And why I say that? Why I say that? Because when Mr. Richards presided over the Executive Council, one of which I was a commissioner, Franklyn Richards, as the governor then, was pushing, and some of us even thought at one point, but why he has an agenda for the Mary Fancy's plantation. He had a vision that others probably did not see. And when the government, because we could not borrow, APS was not ours. The pension fund had belonged to the Netherlands Antilles. The SZV had belonged to the Netherlands Antilles. Actually, it was SZV. The SVB. And we therefore, as island territory, didn't have the right to borrow. And we created all kind of creative financing schemes to get some of the things done that were done in those years. And I can remember when Governor Richards at the time came with a proposal, and we had agreed to purchase the Mary's Fancy, but only then to find out, because of budgetary constraints and we could not borrow, the deal, or to use a more positive word, the arrangement could not go through. And one would say, well, it's a station passé. Mr. Richards is no longer governor, and therefore the plan has died. But Mr. Richards moved to another level. He moved to the APS. And there, seeing the potential that APS has, and seeing the responsibility that APS has, not just to sit on the funds, because if you sit on them, they won't grow. You need to invest them responsibly, invest them wisely. And as a pension fund, you're allowed to invest off island, but you have an obligation to invest on island as well. But we too often have seen investments made in the Netherlands Antilles that went down the drain because they invest in stock markets that go belly down. They invest in what they were told or advised to invest in, and we lost millions. When I was in the Parliament of the Netherlands Antilles, we had to be confronted with millions that investments that were made into that we lost. And therefore, I think today, congratulations are in place to Franklyn Richards for pursuing the vision to acquire Mary's Fancy's plantation, and not to acquire it, to use it as a real estate that you go and put for sale on and hope somebody else is going to then purchase it and probably desecrate it and destroy it, but preserve it in a manner that is marvelously creative. They are blending the investment with reservation, with preservation, with preserving our history and our culture, but also doing what every country needs to do, invest in education. And how are they investing in education? On the premises, which I think was not said yet, Minister Gibson spoke about the restaurant that he had the privilege of having fine dining here at. But once the restaurant here is opened, in conjunction with either NIPA and the Sundial School or both, the students of those schools will be given an opportunity to gain experience in a beautiful surrounding, in a real restaurant, not just going to the school and somewhere in the school having guests share in the culinary expertise that they are developing at the school, but actually to work and to train in what we hope will become a landmark restaurant here at Mary's Fancy. So congratulations are definitely in place to the APS for the smart and wise move that they have made. Congratulations to the people of St. Martin who will see, just like some didn't know of some of the beautiful rock walls and ruins over on the other side of the street, that we see development going in a different direction with different benefits and different intentions. But on this side of the street, where St. Martiners, some of them have born and were raised here and have never in 20, 30, 40, 50 years taken a peek behind the mysterious walls and trees of Mary Fancy. APS is making it possible now that it will be preserved, it will be restored, it will be expanded, and it will be built on, killing several birds with one stone, making an investment for APS, an investment in our culture, or investment in our history, and our investment in our students. Congratulations, and God bless us.
The Prime Minister is the setup man here this evening. And there are persons here that, being the closer, is pretty difficult to speak after. The Prime Minister is one, but also the President of Parliament is another one. I welcome each and every one of you here this afternoon. It would be amiss, why not, as chairperson of the board, to mention the APS commitment of doing what is right for the client, as it relates to APS being the new owners of Mary Fancy. With the acquisition of Mary Fancy, 7,500 square meters, for which special gratitude is in place for heirs of the late Elizabeth Rice Alstrom, and also Ms. Jackie Morris, who is here with us this afternoon, who helped with the negotiations. Thank you for your cooperation. APS has indeed exercised its need to invest and at the same time contributes to cultural heritage preservation. Doing the right thing for the client has entailed addressing when and how to secure present and future pensions. Our pension scheme has been under pressure, you have heard it, for a number of years. We are facing a rapidly increasing life expectancy, dubbed as the financial crisis of this century, as well as prolonged low interest rates. Result has been that many pension funds are now into trouble. St. Martin's APS pension fund is no different, where, for instance, our coverage ratio guaranteeing the future sustainability of the fund is just below 100%. You have just heard that from the Minister of Finance. APS, therefore, will have to seek and find various means and ways of having a sustainable and affordable fund in the future, and ideally create the possibility of having a coverage ratio above 100%. In this regard, we are having ongoing discussions with government and stakeholders about pension reforms. In addition to that, we are seeking and making sound, sensible, and feasible investment within the framework of good governance and proper due diligence. And so, we are confident that Mary Fancy's project will significantly contribute to the sustainability of APS in the long run. The groundbreaking ceremony here this afternoon is to mark the start of phase 1. You have heard it from the project leader. Restructuring the stone wall and the so-called Sager's Gut, creating a walkway along the stone wall adjacent to the L.B. Scott Road, widening the bridge, and creating an exit road to the Gladiola Road. We also have a Mary Fancy phase 2 and a phase 3 in the pipeline. In phase 2, which by the way will start within short, we will focus on restoring the plantation house and the sugar mill. And in phase 3, the focus will be placed on rebuilding 18 to 20 cottages and developing office and commercial units. But we are not stopping there. Already there are plans for the construction of 60 affordable housing units on a parcel of land at Welgelegen in Cahill, for which the groundbreaking minister ceremony, and the Minister of Fromy I'm referring to, starting among other with constructing of a model home, which we are asking your cooperation for the necessary permits, is scheduled for this September. A much needed parking facility in Phillipsburg area, and interestingly enough, APS is to explore the possibilities of establishing a mortgage bank. With exploring the possibilities of establishing a mortgage bank, APS envisions providing an attractive alternative to clients, especially young professionals who wish to purchase one of their affordable homes, thereby further investing in St. Martin over a long-term period. These and other investment in our local response to the urgent and ongoing need of a seriously addressing reforms with which to make our own pension system more sustainable and affordable. As I stated before, St. Martin is not alone in this. It is the trend in a number of cases with pension providers the world over. So the pension reforms and seeking and making sound, sensible, and feasible investment within the framework of a good governance and proper due diligence, as alluded to earlier, avenues being pursued. Having addressed all of the above, let me add a few reminders when it comes to issuing loans, investments. APS is often looking for investment opportunities on St. Martin, Curacao, and other locations throughout the region. Each investment opportunity is unique and requires thorough review. An investment committee advises the APS Board of Directors and the Pension Administration on how to adequately invest monies of APS. Pension fund participants and stakeholders can rest assured that careful consideration is given to each investment opportunity in order to safeguard payment of future pensions. The objective of APS investment goals is to provide participants with pension benefits as required by the National Pension Ordinance for civil servants. Allow me, on behalf of the entire organization, to thank government, for its due diligence and facilitating us with moving forward at this stage, particularly the Prime Minister, who has a coordinating role in relation to nation building and him seeing the importance of the social economic impact of this project for St. Martin. Prime Minister, thank you for those kind words. The Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports, who due to not feeling well, can be with us here this afternoon for her role preserving our monuments. The Minister of FROMI for his infrastructural role. And last but not least, the Minister of Finance, who on behalf of government is responsible for APS, who keeps reminding me of papier is geduldig, and to stick to agreements made. Approaching him every so often with proposals, of which I believe would enhance agreements made, he would say, Frankie, that wasn't our agreement, you know. So let's, for clarity and simplicity's sake, stick to the agreement made. Having said that, I would like to introduce my daughter, Keisha Richards, who is here this afternoon, and Nerissa Cornelia, both studying law in the Netherlands. And Minister, you have asked on many occasions to make sure that those lawyers, those that are studying in the Netherlands, will be back on St. Martin. And I do believe that Keisha and Nerissa, who is now behind the Prime Minister, is now working at his office. Let's give them a big hand. And I have a motto for you. And that motto is that of the Minister of Finance, stick to the agreements made. Members of the Council of Ministers and Parliament, as chair of the board of APS, I humbly make the following urgent appeal to you, which, by the way, for your information, was previously done by APS via a letter to the Ministry of FROMI dated July 2nd, 2015, in regard to the development of Mary Fancy Estate. The area located at southwest of the present APS property is part of the former plantation, and I'm pointing in the direction right behind us here, and should be acquired in ownership to secure future development in line with present rehabilitation plans of APS of Mary's Fancy Estate, and for further protection of the investment of APS. The present use as car repair area and bar are not activities supported by the development vision of APS and nearby vicinity. My appeal thus to government, the Council of Ministers, to Parliament, to the Chair of Parliament, to institute and/or include strict development conditions for any future development in this area, particularly the location at the southwest of APS Mary's Fancy property in the present zoning plan and other government plans considering APS's future development of Mary's Fancy Estate. Special gratitude is also in place for the continued professionalism of APS management and staff, particularly Mr. George Willems, our adjunct director, and Kendra Arnell, our project leader, who have worked diligently and tirelessly in getting the project to this stage. Past and present members of the board and of the investment committee, as well as numerous other entities for their provided expertise. Of course, words of appreciation are in place for the Windward Roads, the contractor executing this long-awaited project. In closing, I leave with you a basic premise as to why APS acquired this estate called Mary's Fancy in the first place. The premise is one which explains how we see our actions in reference to those we serve as part of our core responsibilities. The premise is preserving St. Martin's cultural heritage as we pave the way for the sustainable safeguarding of the present and future pensions of our clients. I thank you.